Oh, hello. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I didn't see you there. So, I was just flipping through a book, one of my favorite books, for... This could be a branch off of TMI Tuesday, but it's not really. It's a book that kind of gets into that territory, but it's one of my favorite books. And there's a little bit of a story behind it as well. The book is entitled The Ethical Slut. Now, of course, the first thing you think of when you see that, you probably laugh or giggle. And, well, rightfully so, but it's actually a really good book, and I'll tell you why. The way I even heard of the book, there was a good friend of mine, Joe. Yes, his actual name was Joe, or is, and we'd been talking a lot. We'd been hanging out a bunch, and I never completely understood the way he looked at relationships, because he was very, very open, more so than just open relationship, but his method of loving people and being more open than just, I have a relationship with two people. Just more than that, it was just very open. So at one point I'd kind of gotten a little distressed about the fact that it just seemed like I didn't know how to understand. I didn't know how to understand the way he loved people or how he felt toward me or anything along those lines. So he said, "You know what? Here's the thing. I've got a really good book for you to read if you want to understand me better." And I remember that portion of it rather well because that is exactly what happened. Once I read this book, I was able to understand everything, and I became more open. I was able to understand the way love typically is meant to be in our typical society. Get married to a woman, white picket fence, heterosexual. That's great and all. Nowadays, it doesn't seem like that happens almost ever. And some of this falls into my opinion, but some of this also is from the book. But my opinion is that I haven't seen it happen a whole lot. There's those relationships, or those marriages for that matter, that last years upon years upon years, and they've been together for 40 or so years. That's impressive. It's amazing. It's something to be congratulated. I am not knocking you guys any less or more. But it just is very rare. Nowadays, you get into a marriage, realize very quickly afterward things get boring, or you just absolutely hate the person, and you get a divorce. And then the whole process of getting married is costly, the whole process of divorce is costly, and if you have a kid, well, you're even doubly screwed. So that's just one portion of it. Again, this is part of my opinion. But once I read the book, I'll try to explain what I learned from it the best that I can. In that the book is about not just relying on that white picket fence belief that that's what marriage is and that's what love is. Loving one person only, that's it. If you have feelings in any way, shape, or form for anybody else, that's cheating on them. And that's just not the way it is. For me, if you're open and honest with your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your fiance, your whatever, that goes a long way towards everything. And this kind of falls back on what I said on Tuesday, is that you're the person who admits that there's a problem, sees that there's a problem, and works it. I mean, that goes a long way towards resolving an issue. But there's not just that. So I'll give you an example. So say I get into a relationship with someone, or you get into a relationship with someone. Or let's say you, the viewer, get into a relationship with me. Now, that's all fine and dandy, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't love the person. But oftentimes there is the opportunity that something else comes along, or that, there's always something that you feel as if, what would happen if I had taken this route? And there's that, but it's also the ability to love more than one person. Because we all know, as we've dated or as we've been in relationships or in marriages throughout our lives, things tend to get boring. There's the honeymoon phase. It's awesome, great, fantastic. There couldn't be a better thing in the world than that other person. After a while, you start... this goes into also what Dan Savage says, who's someone I kind of enjoy. One of his ideas is that there's the price of admission. But that's a whole nother thing. Anyway, so there is the putting your best foot forward. When you get into a relationship, when I get into a relationship, or whatever, anybody does, you think, well, I'm going to convince this person that I'm awesome, or that I'm good looking, or that I'm whatever. And you're going to put your best foot forward. You're going to try to impress that other person because, well, obviously, you're interested in them, so you want to make them interested in you. But after that's all said and done, the person, after, say, a year, or 2 years, 3 years, whatever, however long it takes down the line, pardon me, they start to see the faults, they start to see the problems, they start to see the things that they don't like. And it gets tiring. It's one of those things where you realize, well, what am I doing here? You either sit down and say, yep, that's the person I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. And if you're in a monogamous relationship, good for you. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. That there's, again, with the marriages that have lasted years and years and years, those probably have been monogamous relationships. I know that there have been some polyamorous relationships as well that have lasted many, 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 many years. But, so, you're in a relationship with one person, and you've seen their faults, you've seen the problems, you've seen the annoyances, you've seen all the things that maybe you didn't want to have. There is no the one. This is another thing Dan Savage says. There's no one. It just doesn't work that way. If you think there's somebody you're going to be with for the rest of your life, again, short of those marriages that have been together for 40, 50 years, great. But most people, there isn't the one. You can go searching for the rest of your life for the one who is your ideal person. And unfortunately, if you say, well, this person has to be handsome, this person has to be smart, this person has to be into a number of the things that I'm into, not just hobby-wise or interest-wise, but also in bed. And just list off a few more things. And if that's what the person has to meet in order for them to be with you long term for the rest of your life, it's never going to happen. You have to dwindle down the amount of things or prerequisites that you have for a person to be with you. So anyway, trying not to delve too much farther off topic, as I'm starting to run long already. The premise is that I'm in a relationship with someone. They do fulfill many things that I want. I absolutely adore them. I love them. There is no question about that. But there are things in another person that comes along, or that I've known for many years, whatever the case may be, and they fulfill other portions. So, example, let's say I need someone who is affectionate. Let's say that. Well, there's somebody who comes along that is affectionate. But I also need someone who is happy-go-lucky, willing to take life as no day at a time, etc. Well, this person who's incredibly affectionate doesn't take things a day at a time. They have to plan 3 years in advance, and everything's got to be planned. There is no, let's just go out and do something, whatever the case may be. this other person may not be terribly affectionate, but they are the other half. So you see what I'm saying here is that there's one person, and you can't have both. Well, in a monogamous relationship, you can't have both. In a polyamorous relationship, you can. You can love both equally, as long as both are open to the idea that, and this is again, or this is falling into third wheels and such, so you love this person, you love this person, but do those two people love each other? That becomes a problem too. But it's sort of like I have a boyfriend, I have my friends, but I can't make my friends love my boyfriend, or like my boyfriend for that matter. Let's say that. So it's the same idea. But basically, it goes into polyamory, and that there's nothing wrong with it. And it goes into that there's nothing wrong with polyamory, and that it's basically open relationships, polyamory, defining them, or at least attempting to define them, and even there's some training exercises as well. And that sounds weird, but in relationships, say you're in your first 6 months of a relationship, you've never fought with the other person, it's time to start fighting. And that's because you're going to fight. There is no fight-free relationship. You may think that there is, but there isn't. There's always going to be something that you're going to disagree with another person on. It's just the way life works. Everybody doesn't think exactly the same. If they did, then that might be a little creepy. Yeah. But that's all about one of my favorite books, and actually by that author, Dossie Easton. She wrote some other books as well, but those aren't as great, actually. I think still have it. I think I still have it somewhere. But one of the other ones she wrote was When Someone You Love Is Kinky. And that one was okay. It's mostly just kind of a lot of letters that people have wrote to their parents or to people that they know that they're very good friends with, that, hey, this is what's going on. I'm afraid to actually say this to you in person because I'm afraid of your reaction. But I wanted you to know this because you're very close to me. That sort of thing. And that's what that book mostly is about. And on the other, it's almost from the opposite side of what this book takes on. This book takes on, like, I'm in going for open relationships, or I'm in the market, so to speak. Whereas When Someone You Love Is Kinky book is more based on how to react to such a thing as, say, open relationships, or other topics such as bondage, or things that, off the top of your head, you look at it and go, ooh, that's kind of a deep topic. I don't know if I really want to, I've never done anything like that sort of thing. So it's how to be on both of these books actually take different sides, but this one's just better written, I think, as well as it's more thorough, whereas When Somebody Loves Kinky is more, again, with letters and very basic, very, very simple. So if you want to give either book a read, by all means, I would highly recommend this one. And When Somebody You Love Is Kinky is perhaps something you would read after, just to see what it's about. But both of the books are very good, and those are some of my favorites. I don't have too many books that I've read in the last few years, but I had to go pick this up once my friend had mentioned it. And it didn't even pass. I didn't even do the silly test of, okay, flip to a page in the middle of the book and read a paragraph and see if it's worth your while. I didn't even do that. I just blindly went into it and was very happy with the outcome. But one thing to mention before you read either of these two books is keep an open mind. Don't look at the chapter titles and, let's say, for instance, battling sex negativity, for instance. Look at one of the titles of the chapters and go, nope, I'm done, and put it down. And no, read through it, give it a chance, and tell me if you come out the other side with a more open mind and a better understanding of what polyamory is about and how open relationships work, and even if you find out that maybe it's worth giving it a shot just to see what it's like. Because that's one of the other things that I tend to live my life by as well. But that I can save for another entry. Anyway, on that note, I will leave you all, and you have a good night. And until next time, good night and good luck.